Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry. You know, here on the show, we always try to approach a variety of topics, have different guests throughout the years, but there has developed through the years one interview I found that I enjoy doing every year, and that is chatting with the CNMI Public School System Teacher of the Year. I always find it so inspiring, and it's my pleasure to have in studio today the 2021 Teacher of the Year, Bonny Cruz. Bonny, welcome.
Hafade and Tiro, everyone. My name is Bonny Cruz. I am your 2021 CNMI Teacher of the Year.
I love that. You belong to us, girl.
Yes.
How did it feel when you found out that you were being named the Teacher of the Year?
When I first learned from my colleagues that I was nominated Teacher of the Year, just amongst my schoolmates, I felt honored because I'm among so many passionate educators, and to find out that they look to me as someone who is a representative in their eyes as an outstanding educator, I think really touched my heart. And then finding out about being a candidate of the top 6 selected individuals for the CNMI was even more nerve-wracking, to be honest, because just felt like a lot of pressure. So I felt mixed emotions. I felt excitement. I felt very proud. I felt joy. And then, of course, that wave of pressure came down. Like, oh my gosh, am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to be, do I deserve this title? That feeling of that imposter syndrome kind of just overwhelmed my mind. And then I had moments of conversation with my God, who reminded me that I am worthy.
You are. And I love the fact that you're being so real about not only the positive things that come when we receive some kind of recognition, but also the real human side of it.
Yes. And so they call us and they start announcing our names individually. And then there goes the 2021 CNMI Teacher of the Year, Bonny Cruz. And I just remember crying.
Aww.
Because I think instantly I thought about my students, my colleagues, my students' families. I've only been teaching for going on 7 years now. And, there's a time in your career where you think about, am I doing enough? What else can I do? And so when I heard that title be announced, I felt like a sense of like validation. All my hard work and my effort is being acknowledged, when a lot of times there have been times in my past and even moments in my present where I don't always feel that educators are supported, or I think that a lot of times our efforts are not acknowledged. And so when I hear that we're being celebrated, it makes me feel joy. And I think that when I immediately was announced, the first group of people I wanted to thank were my colleagues and my students and their families, and my family for supporting me. Joy.
So when and how did you first become interested in teaching and teaching elementary level?
To be quite honest, when I was in my senior year of my undergrad program at NMC, I graduated. I'm a product of the School of Education from the Northern Marianas College. Also, happy birthday to NMC. I believe they're celebrating I forgot what year it is, but happy birthday to them. But I'm a product of the Northern Marianas College, and I remember my final year at SOE, School of Ed. My practicum teacher at the time, Miss Amanda Diaz, I verbalized to her that I would feel comfortable teaching the middle school age group. I just feel like I connect with that group, that age group. I feel like I can have a positive influence on them. And I was also very comfortable with the content. And she obviously saw something in me that I didn't see at the time. And she was just like, no, I'm telling you, you need to be in elementary. You can do this. And so, of course, at the moment, I was just like, no way. Oh, this is the struggle. But I was completing my practicum, my student teaching at Coblerville Elementary School. And I remember applying for a job immediately after I had earned my Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary education. And I got a job as a 5th grade teacher. And
was Miss Amanda right?
She was right. I'd like to think, actually, no. I know my students love me.
Aww.
I love my students. I've had so many students, return back to the school just to visit me. And, some still reach out to me. And it's only been like almost 7 years. But I feel like I've made a positive influence on their lives. She was right. And so I think, sometimes you don't realize your own value. But the people around you will remind you what you have to offer. And I know that when she placed me in elementary level at the time, it wasn't because she saw that I could only handle that. I know that I'm capable of more, and I'd like to challenge myself in the future to, dabble in other grade levels and even different content areas. But she was absolutely right, and I really think that an effective educator is adaptable. I think that's a trait that is so important, especially during this time, is being adaptable to whatever situation.
Give us an idea of what a day in the class of Miss Cruz is like. What is your teaching style? What are the things that you have the kids do to try to, light that spark and that love for learning?
So, it's funny because I was thinking about this question as you asked me. I thought about how things have changed so drastically in the last few years. We've had super typhoons, and we now are in the midst of a pandemic, and how my classroom has just changed, completely changed, within these past few years. I'd like to say that I'm a facilitator of learning. I believe that's my teaching philosophy, is really just more student-centered. But I know that it's not like that right now. And I know that there are things that I can do better right now. And it's okay, because it's a learning process, even for me as an educator. In the past, if you were to walk into my classroom in the past, you would walk into a classroom where desks are put together and students are working collaboratively in groups, speaking. You would hear voices. It would be noisy, but that would be the productive noise, where students are asking questions, they're giving each other feedback. They're having conversations that's adding to each other's experiences. And so how that has changed from my past to my present is now we are living in an era where when you walk into the classroom, we are right now practicing blended learning, which means that students are working both synchronously and asynchronously. So we have...
Which means?
So asynchronous means that they're working independently, working online to complete tasks online, and it's very independent driven, where they rely on maybe videos or slides or PowerPoints, whatever form of presentation. We're trying to communicate knowledge to them, and then they're using that to demonstrate their understanding, right? Completing tasks online. And then we also have, so that's Monday, every Monday we hold a virtual class. And in those virtual classes, of course, I try to do my best to incorporate breakout groups so that they're still engaging in conversation. And then I try to incorporate more engagement tools because it's online. But then synchronous mode, they actually come into the classroom, the physical classroom.
So half the class might be online,
yes,
and half the class would be in the classroom.
The instruction the instruction is both online and face-to-face. So online is asynchronous, where they're kind of working independently, completing tasks online, and then synchronous mode would be more guided instruction by the teacher when they come to school physically. And so you would think that, okay, great, they're in the physical classroom, now we can work more collaboratively in a more collaborative setting. But with the COVID restrictions, seats, student desk, and I have not had this type of classroom setup. I've actually have not had this kind of setup since, actually I don't remember, I think from my first year of teaching, I've always had students placed in groups. And there are times when you encourage independent work, but my style of teaching is more collaborative, more group settings, more student driven. And so that was definitely a challenge for me, because this school year, students are in what I think most people might refer to as those
social distancing.
I hate to say it, but I know that they're probably known as like cemetery rows, like where they're just like, they're just set up in lines and rows. And I hate to think about that, but right now it's more for their safety. Mm-hmm. You have them in this space and you want to encourage them to be social, but you can't really have intimate conversations when someone's 6 feet away, So I think we're doing our best. And of course, we can always do better. But that's really how my classroom has changed from the past to what it is right now. And then I'm just doing my best to make sure that my online courses, or even when I hold my virtual classes on Blackboard, which is the platform that we use to facilitate learning right now, I try to do my best to incorporate as much engagement tools as possible so that it's not just a lecture on the screen and type in the chat box. I try my best to incorporate as much educational technology so that I'm continuing to enhance the learning and so that the students are engaged and are having fun. Yeah.
Very challenging during this time. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how, especially during this time when there's so much demanded of teachers and students, how that plays into mental health of our school system. And we'll be back with more after this break.
Hafaday, Tito, and greetings from the Northern Marianas Humanities Council. This is Board Chairman Isa Ariola. We are so pleased to be celebrating our 30th anniversary this year with you. Our mission remains to navigate and explore the human experiences of the Indigenous and diverse peoples of the Commonwealth by enriching their lives through research, dialogue, programs, and publications. If you have not yet participated in any of our council activities, make this your year. We look forward to welcoming you into our humanities family as we navigate the human experience together.
Welcome back to your Humanities Half Hour. We're chatting today with the 2021 CNMI Public School System Teacher of the Year, Bonny Cruz. Bonny, in your application for Teacher of the Year, one of the things you said you wanted to do was bring awareness to mental health in the schools. What did you mean by that? And can you elaborate?
Yes. In 2018, I actually was made aware that I suffered from anxiety and depression. And I think it wasn't until my own experience that I realized something is wrong with the way I'm going about my daily life. And there were things that needed to be addressed. And in 2018, or I believe early 2019, between that time frame, Dr. Bonnie Pangilinan, who I'm incredibly grateful for, she's an amazing educator, oh my gosh, even just saying her name gets me emotional. And she probably doesn't even know the impact that she's had on my life. Excuse me.
It's okay.
But it wasn't until, I believe it was late 2018 when she was, she's our student and support service, I believe, coordinator or director. And she pretty much contracted a company called The Pure Edge. And it is a form of just delivering coping strategies for stress management, and how it translates to like academic performance. And it also it was really just a time when I wasn't feeling my best, and it couldn't have come I don't know, the timing was perfect, I would say, is because I was already feeling a certain way with work and the culture at my school. And so they spoke about culture of care and our relationship with colleagues. And I can say that since then, I feel that culture of care has improved at our school. And
in what way would you say?
I feel more connected to my coworkers. I feel like we're more aware of how we're all feeling. I feel like we're in a space where we can openly share how we're feeling and not feel belittled for it, or set aside, like as if that's not a concern right now. I feel like the dynamic at our school, and I know that it goes back to leadership. I'm incredibly grateful for all the leaders that I've been able to experience in the past, but I'm just so incredibly grateful for leaders who have made changes, especially in the sense of prioritizing social and emotional health. And so I personally feel like that my relationship with my colleagues have improved since then. And the Pure Edge program just kind of made me more aware of like, wait a minute, I need to take little brain breaks for myself. And so I learned strategies on how to cope with stress. And of course it was something much deeper than that, at least for me. But these were all strategies that I could take back and practice in my classroom.
And, I'm thinking there's a lot of people under stress out there.
Oh, yes.
Especially with the whole employment situation and the COVID. Could you share one or two of these strategies with us to take away?
Yeah, so I think, one, acknowledging first that stress and anxiety are completely two different things. And if you're unaware of how to manage your stress, that stress becomes more long-term and then eventually turns into anxiety, this prolonged stress. And that prolonged stress eventually causes that small headache will turn into a migraine syndrome in the future, or that stomach ache will turn into some kind of
ulcer.
Exactly. Ulcer, some kind of digestion issue. Basically, something that is temporary could eventually get worse. And so I'm not saying it to scare anyone. It's more that if you feel these symptoms, maybe reach out to someone who can share some strategies. And so like one strategy was a mindful minute. That was something that we practiced. And I actually facilitated. It was funny because I was just a participant at the time, a part of a trainer's session. So they were training me to be a trainer. And so, of course, eventually I took back that information to my colleagues and shared the strategies with them so that they could teach their students about it.
How does it work, this mindful minute?
So a mindful minute is taking just 60 seconds of your time wherever you are. Of course, in the classroom, it could be the first thing in the morning, as soon as the kids come in. But if you're not a teacher, right, because this applies to everyone, if it means taking a minute in your car before getting down to go to work, just sitting with your hands on your lap and And we could do it right now too if you wanted to, but putting your hands on your lap, just kind of relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your chest, and if you feel comfortable enough, you can close your eyes and really just focusing on your breath and letting your breath just lead your thoughts, and just being even grateful in that moment for that breath. So inhaling through your nose and exhaling. Inhaling and slowly feeling your chest drop with every exhale. The next inhale, you can think to yourself that I am worthy and I am grateful for this life. Inhale and exhale. Yeah. And so there are so many different, so many different, they call them brain breaks. And because, of course, this is more tailored to students, but really allowing your breath to be your focus. It's something as simple as breathing. I think we take for granted a lot of times because it's an involuntary action. And when we just stop to acknowledge how grateful we are for breath, the moment you wake up, even moments when you're feeling stressed, our cortisol levels increase, and it has shown that if you just take a moment to breathe, you can lower that level of cortisol. So you're allowed to make more, rational decisions. So I feel like I could go on about this, but there's so many different fun ones too, like the lion's breath, where you get the kids to inhale and they stick their tongue out and they roar. But just if you are having a moment where you just feel, and that requires practice, just like any kind of exercise or activity that we do, in order to improve, we need to practice. And so that goes back to practicing mindfulness requires practice. And so if at any moment you remember, okay, I just need to take 60 seconds, and even if that means 10 seconds, I think it would be great if you could practice, over time, building on that mindful minute and going for 5 minutes. But if, a lot of times we say, oh, I don't have time to do this, it's really about prioritizing that time. I think the time really doesn't change in the day. It's more like we have to set aside time for ourselves. And if that means a minute in the car before you get down to cook dinner for your family, or a minute in the restroom when you're washing your hands before you go outside, take a breath and just look at yourself in the mirror and take that breath and remind yourself, all that you're grateful for. And whatever struggles or challenges you're facing in that moment, it's temporary and it'll subside and things will get better. And so that was just a mindful minute. And then something that has helped me in this past year, especially early last year when I was furloughed, like many other educators in the public school system and many people in our community, I started journaling. I started writing down affirmations. One-line affirmations. It would change every day. I'm grateful. I am strong. And there were days when sometimes I didn't truly believe that, but when I wrote it down and I just repeated it to myself, and at any point in the day when I felt self-doubt or felt sad or felt like I wasn't capable, I reminded myself or read that affirmation that I wrote on a card. I think those are helpful strategies. Taking a mindful minute, journaling, writing down affirmations, saying those affirmations out loud to yourself and putting it somewhere that is visible. And definitely something for me is physical activity. I consider myself an athlete, but when I don't prioritize time for just running outside or walking outside or dedicating time to go to the gym to exercise, I'm feel like I'm doing myself a disservice because I have this body that has gone through so much. A lot of people may know my story, a lot of people may not know, but one thing I will not take for granted is life. And if I feel like I'm honoring my God by keeping my body healthy. So, yeah.
If you could share a message to the parents of your students and all the students out there, what would you want to say to them?
I would like to say to them that as an educator, we are here with you. We are learning with you, and we're far from perfect. And I hope that you know that we are, even if there are days when it seems like we're not doing our part, please know that a lot of times we take home the burdens that our families are going through, the burdens that our students are going through. We a lot of times take those things home with us. And even after a week timeout, those are things that we that linger in our minds. And so I just want them to remind our parents and our students that they really are the forefront, and they're really the reason why we do what we do, because it really takes a special individual to be an educator, and especially during this time. And so my message is that we care, and we're going to do our best to continue to show that. And I'd also like to tell our students that we know that you all are doing the best that you can. And parents, I know that you are all doing the best that you can. And even on days when you feel like you're not doing the most, you're doing absolutely what you're supposed to be doing. And when you feel like it's not enough, forgive yourself. And I think that's a message that I shared last year, even with my colleagues, was we're going to make mistakes, and I'd hope that you take a moment to forgive yourself and even just acknowledge all the work that you've put in to get to this moment. I'm so incredibly proud of my colleagues of the public school system, because just this time last year, we went from being hesitant about blended learning and online learning, and I'm just so proud of the growth. I'm so proud of our students for being adaptable and being ready to learn, and I'm so proud of our parents for doing their part to be proactive and asking questions and being as vocal as they are, because I think that's the only way that we're going to continue to succeed together and grow together, is we continue to root for one another and celebrate each other.
Thank you so much for your time today, Bonnie. Any final thoughts before we go?
I believe May is Mental Health Month. Mm-hmm. So to everyone who is listening, don't limit it just to May, but just remember that you are worthy, you are strong, you are capable. Remind the people that are around you how grateful you are for them. And then remind yourself every once in a while that you are grateful for yourself and all that you have. And also do not feel hesitant to ask for help when you need it. Thank you so much, Miss Catherine, for having me and allowing me to speak and share a little bit about me. Thank you.
Well, I especially want to thank you for being so open and vulnerable today, and for reminding us all that we don't have to be quote-unquote perfect to do great things and make a difference like you are. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a wonderful day and stay blessed.
Our guest today has been Bonny Cruz. She is the 2021 CNMI Public School System Teacher of the Year. This has been Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.